The vast, untamed forests of Quebec, Canada, a landscape of breathtaking beauty, but also one that holds deep, ancient mysteries. For centuries, these woods have been the backdrop for tales of strange creatures and unexplained events. Today, we'll be diving into one of the most compelling and chilling stories to ever emerge from these forests, the legend of the Wendigo. Our story begins in the early 20th century, a time when fur trapping was a way of life for many in the remote regions of Quebec. One of the most respected and experienced trappers in the area was a man named Jean. He knew the woods like the back of his hand, every creek, every game trail, every hidden valley. He was a man of the wilderness, practical and unflinching, but what he was about to encounter would test the limits of his courage and his sanity. It started subtly. Jean-Pierre noticed things were off. His traps, usually full, were found sprung and empty, sometimes mangled with a force that no ordinary animal could possess. At first, he blamed a particularly large bear or a pack of wolves, but then the strange occurrences escalated. He would find large, unidentifiable tracks near his campsite, tracks that were bipedal, but too long and slender to be human, ending in what looked like sharp claws. The prints seemed to sink impossibly deep into the hard-packed earth, suggesting immense weight. One evening, as he sat by his fire, a sound pierced the silence of the night. It wasn't the howl of a wolf or the cry of a loon. It was a high-pitched, guttural shriek that seemed to echo from the very canopy of the trees above him. It was a sound of pure agony and rage, and it sent a shiver down his spine that had nothing to do with the cold. Jean-Pierre, a man who had faced down charging moose and angry bears without flinching, felt a primal fear he had never known before. The local indigenous communities, the Cree and the Algonquin, had long spoken of the Wendigo. It wasn't just a monster, it was a spirit, a manifestation of insatiable hunger and greed. The legend says that a human can become a Wendigo if they resort to cannibalism in the harsh, unforgiving winters. The transformation is a terrifying one. The person grows gaunt and emaciated, yet possesses superhuman strength and an unending craving for human flesh. Its skin is said to be stretched tight over its bones, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Jean-Pierre had always dismissed these stories as folklore, campfire tales, meant to scare children. But now, alone in the deep woods, with the evidence mounting around him, he wasn't so sure. The disappearances started soon after. First, a lone prospector who had ventured into the same area vanished without a trace. A search party found his camp ransacked, his belongings scattered, but no sign of the man himself, save for a single, tattered boot. Then, another trapper from a neighboring territory went missing. The pattern was always the same. A feeling of being watched, strange noises in the night, and then silence. Fear began to grip the small, isolated communities. Men who had spent their entire lives in the wilderness now refused to go out alone. They spoke in hushed tones of a tall, shadowy figure glimpsed between the trees at dusk, moving with an unnatural speed. They described a creature so thin it was almost skeletal, yet it moved with a terrifying grace and power. The air grew heavy with a sense of dread. The forest, once a source of livelihood, had become a place of terror. Jean-Pierre, however, was not one to be driven from his home. He was a hunter, and if something was hunting in his territory, he was determined to hunt it back. He began to prepare, not for trapping beaver or marten, but for something far more dangerous. He cleaned his rifle, sharpened his axe, and gathered silver bullets, which old legends claimed were one of the few things that could harm a Wendigo. He felt a grim resolve settle over him. This was his land, and he would not be chased away by a shadow. He decided to set a trap, but not a conventional one. He knew this creature was intelligent, cunning. He chose a small, isolated cabin he sometimes used during the winter months, located deep in the heart of the territory where the activity was most intense. He reinforced the door and windows, leaving only small openings to shoot from. His plan was simple and incredibly dangerous. He would use himself as bait. For 3 days and 3 nights, Jean-Pierre waited. The silence in the cabin was deafening, broken only by the crackling of the small fire and the pounding of his own heart. The forest outside was unnaturally quiet. No birds sang, no squirrels chattered. It was as if all of nature was holding its breath. On the third night it came. It started with a faint scratching sound on the roof, like long nails dragging across the wooden shingles. Then a low, guttural growl that vibrated through the very logs of the cabin. Jean-Pierre gripped his rifle, his knuckles white. Through a small crack in the wall, he caught a glimpse of it. It was tall, impossibly tall and skeletal, its skin a sickly, pale gray. Its limbs were long and spindly, and its head was topped with what looked like antlers or twisted branches. But the worst part was its face. In the faint moonlight, he saw eyes that glowed like hot coals and a mouth stretched into a permanent, horrifying grin, revealing rows of sharpened teeth. The creature began to circle the cabin, testing the walls, sniffing at the door. Its hunger was a palpable force, an aura of pure malice that pressed in from all sides. It let out another one of those blood-curdling shrieks, a sound that seemed to tear at the fabric of reality itself. Jean-Pierre raised his rifle, his hands shaking but his aim steady. He waited for his moment. The Wendigo, frustrated through its immense weight against the door. The wood splintered. The heavy bar holding it shut groaned under the strain. It slammed against the door again and again, the entire cabin shaken with each impact. Jean-Pierre knew he had only one chance. As the creature drew back for another strike, he fired. The roar of the rifle was deafening in the small space. The silver bullet struck the creature square in the chest. There was a screech of inhuman pain, a sound that was somehow even more terrifying than its roars of anger. Jean-Pierre peered through the crack. The creature had staggered back, clutching its chest. A dark, viscous fluid, not blood, was seeping from the wound. For a moment, it just stood there, its glowing eyes fixed on the cabin, filled with a mixture of shock and pure hatred. Then, with a speed that defied its gaunt frame, it turned and melted back into the shadows of the forest. Jean-Pierre didn't move for the rest of the night. He sat with his back against the wall, rifle in his lap, listening. But the only sound was the wind whispering through the trees. When dawn finally broke, he cautiously opened the shattered door. There were the giant, clawed tracks leading away from the cabin, and a trail of the dark fluid that quickly disappeared into the pine needles and moss. Of the creature itself, there was no sign. He never saw the Wendigo again. The strange occurrences in the forest ceased, the disappearances stopped, and a sense of peace slowly returned to the region. Jean-Pierre continued to trap for many years, but he was a changed man. He rarely spoke of what happened that night, but those who knew him saw a new depth of gravity in his eyes, the look of a man who has stared into the abyss and survived. So, was it real? Was it a mass hysteria fueled by hardship and isolation? Or did a legendary creature of folklore truly stalk the forests of Quebec? The story of Jean-Pierre's hunt has been passed down through generations, becoming a part of the local lore. Many believe he faced and defeated a genuine Wendigo. Skeptics might suggest he encountered a diseased bear or a hermit driven mad by solitude. But the tracks, the sheer force, the chilling descriptions, they don't quite fit any known animal or human. The forests of Quebec keep their secrets well. Even today, hikers and hunters sometimes report a strange feeling of being watched or hear unexplained noises in the dead of night. The legend of the Wendigo serves as a powerful reminder that there are still vast, wild places on this earth where the line between myth and reality is blurred, and where ancient fears can still take root and grow. It is a testament to the enduring power of stories and the mysteries that lie just beyond the glow of our campfires. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of a Canadian legend. What do you think Jean-Pierre encountered in the woods? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more explorations into the world's greatest mysteries. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.